Love and greetings to you, ladies. I'm Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation. It's going to turn out to be a very beneficial video for you. I used to be a divorce mediator, so I've seen it all. And the topic here is husband's affair, why counseling fails, and what works better. This is important, very important, because the first thing I want to tell you is that contrary to what most people believe, and contrary to what is normal, because trust me, I helped a lot of people get divorces where the husband was having an affair. Your marriage can be saved. I'm telling you right now, and this is not a rah-rah, don't give up. This is don't worry. You know, I remember when I was a kid, and I would have, all of a sudden my transmission, long time ago, obviously, and all of a sudden my transmission was like jerking me back and forth as I was driving. And I drove my car over to AMCO, and I thought, man, it is over. It's over. And the guy took in the car, called me up within an hour, and he said, come and get your car. I said, do I take it to the junkyard? He said, no, it's fixed. It was just a vacuum hose. And I thought, oh my God, how is that even possible? Your marriage is not over. The science of marriage, there is a science, is not understood or even studied by Western psychologists. And it's Western psychologists who do all of the marriage counseling. And so naturally, they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to marriage. And I love Western psychologists. These are good people who got into psychology in order to help others, but they don't know. They sent me all my business. Okay? Now, where I'm going with this is I discovered something that blew my mind. Now, I got into divorce mediation because I personally had a divorce, and going through the courts was horrible. It was horrible for me, my ex-wife, our children, and the only ones who did well were the lawyers and the courts. They did wonderfully. So up until 2001, I was building a process where people could come to me, we could bypass the courts, and they would save a lot of money. It still wasn't cheap. It cost about $10,000, and this was up to 2001. But they got a divorce, and they didn't hate each other afterwards. And most of the people who came in for a divorce, the husband cheated. Now, a young couple came to me. This was in 2001. And I said, okay, let's get started. And I know this is hard for both of you, but let's get started and we'll figure out how we go forward. And the wife started to cry. And she said, I don't really want a divorce. I still love my husband. We just don't know what to do. And the husband said, I really don't want a divorce either. They were sent to me by Western psychologists. Remember, this is about how couples counseling doesn't work, but there's something much better. So they said, could you help us save our marriage? And the trend at that time was everything was communication. And I was a communication expert. So they figured I could help them. I said, okay, let me have a few months so I could dig in a little bit. And I talked to my friends, the psychologists. I said, what do I do? They said, it's really simple, but don't imagine you're going to save their marriage. But what you do is you sit down with them and you begin with what happened. You take notes, you pay attention, you look for places for agreement and like that. And I thought, I know that doesn't work because my wife and I tried it. And so I started thinking about it in different terms. And I asked the question, and it took me a while to get to this question, but I got the question, why do we get married in the first place? Do you know the answer? let's put aside what's going on for you right now. Why did you get married in the first place? And the answer is that you're probably going to come up with is I fell in love. But that's not really the answer. Okay? We're going to get a little deeper. The real answer, which is of course, is we get married because we want to be happier. And guess what? If you knew how to be married, that's exactly what would have happened. But clearly, your husband wasn't happy. Clearly, if your husband wasn't happy, neither were you. I often heard, I got blindsided, but it's not the truth. You knew your marriage wasn't firing on all cylinders, as they say. And I thought, okay, what makes us happy? And the answer is love. And then I thought, you know what? We're done with Western psychology. Because you talk to any Western psychologist, you look it up right now. Google, what is love? And you know what you'll find? An increased like. But that's not what your experience was at all. What you experienced was this overwhelming feeling from here that your mind couldn't wrap its arms around if you tried. So, what do we do now? Well, let's talk about what would happen if you go to marriage counseling. If you go to marriage counseling, what it means is you convinced your husband, let's try. And you gave him all these arguments, and he reluctantly agreed, because that is exactly what happens. And in his mind, I'm going to tell you right now, because after 2001, when I started working with that couple, I stopped being a divorce mediator because I discovered these truths. And I met with husbands and wives in the beginning together. And then for 8 years, I only worked with wives or with husbands. So I'm going to give you some good news right now. Number one, your marriage is not over. Number two, you're going to do this yourself. You're not going to drag your husband into marriage counseling. Now, when does marriage counseling work? Because there's times when it does work if you have a good marriage counselor. And the only good marriage counselors, honestly, that I found out there were the ones who are trained by Gottman. Because his teachings are very similar to mine. But the big difference is this. Gottman is great when the couple together want to work on their marriage and get past little stumbling blocks. His stuff is great. He believes in God. He doesn't have this atheist approach. And marriage is a gift from God. So he understands love. He understands harmony. He relies on real principles and studies. I came at it a little differently, where I basically said there's got to be a science to this. And there is. There's principles and there's laws. I'll give you an example. You want to go up to your husband, you want to tell him how much he hurt you, you want to have him say he's sorry and beg your forgiveness and tell you everything's going to be all right. Okay, number one, the law of survival dictates that if you do that, he's going to feel attacked, he's going to retreat, or he's going to attack back. We all learned that law, right? Self-preservation. When someone is attacked, they either fight or fly. A law. And yet, Western psychologists say, well, we have to talk this out. No, it doesn't work, especially with a counselor. You come into counseling, and you're going to talk about how you feel. And in his mind, he's going, doesn't she get it? I'm not happy. She's not making me happy. And you'll go down your list with the counselor. And I tried this in the beginning, kind of negotiating, and the dynamics are insane. I literally had women flirting with me, so they could get me on their side, and had the men trying to bond with me so I would be on their side. Well, marriage is not about sides, but neither of you know that. I talked to my psychologist friends. I said, here's what's happening. And all of them went, yep, that's what happens. You have to learn how to juggle. And I said, but you don't get anywhere. Yep, that's why we give you so much business. And it's the truth. So I came up with, through logic, that the individual who really wants to save the marriage, which in this case is you, has tremendous power to do what? To change yourself. You see, then we have for the law of cause and effect, Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Your marriage has been run the way most marriages are, where arguing is okay. It's not. There should be zero arguing. Criticism is okay. Well, if he does something wrong, I need to tell him. No. Complaining is okay. Well, who's going to tell him? Nobody, not you. Why? Because the highest spiritual law, and don't forget, marriage is a spiritual construct based on love that God gave us to learn how to love unconditionally. Well, it's not loving to point out each other's flaws, but you know what is the number one law? Loyalty. Loyalty is the highest spiritual law. And I know you think that only means that he shouldn't therefore have cheated on me, but it also means you should never criticize him. It means you should never complain at him. It means you should put him ahead of the rest of your life, even ahead of your children. And this is what I teach. So, I have another video where people ask, well, what's the difference between you and Gottman? And the truth is, Gottman is way ahead of me when it comes to popularity and how he's reached out. But the only real difference is that he works with couples, lucky guy, and I only work with individuals. And so I put together a program that is so sweet. It's step by step, but you gotta get it out of your mind that he's gonna come around and admit what he's done wrong and beg forgiveness. Get that stuff out of your head. If you want to save your marriage, and those are other videos where I got to tell you it's worth saving your marriage, especially if you have children, but it's worth saving your marriage. Unless the guy's in the mob or something, or he beats you, or, something extreme, it's worth saving your marriage. And I'm also going to tell you this. I don't know of any other system that actually works, that is meticulous. You have milestones. You know exactly what you have to do. You know exactly what you're looking for as a result of doing what I teach you. Our system works. Plus, it's backed up. You have TMF trained marriage counselors. I trained them. Those very counselors who used to send me my business sat in my first meetings to be trained as TMF marriage counselors. They were blown away. And to this day, those who are still living use TMF stuff. I urge you to go to the website. Go to the website and try it. It's a 3-day free trial. You have nothing to lose. And expense-wise, it's much cheaper than marriage counseling. I used to get $300 a session, and that was back in the early 2000s. I don't know what marriage counselors get today, but you could literally start with a plan that's less than $10 a week. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's easier for us. It's easier. We have our TMF marriage counselors. Of course, we have to pay a lot of expenses, but There's a lot less to cover than sitting down with a marriage counselor for weeks, for months, and sometimes up to a year. So I urge you, go to the Marriage Foundation website. Try this. You're in a situation, and I'm going to add one more thing. The vast majority of those who come to us are ladies whose husband are cheating on them. What's our success rate? I'm embarrassed to tell you because it's so high that people go, he's BSing me. So high, way in the high 90s. I'm not going to say any more than that because I brought it down to a system. Because marriage can be scientifically looked at. You will be helped, you will be guided, and your marriage will not only come back, it'll be better than ever. Now, I should have asked you this a long time ago. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel and share this video. I'm Paul Friedman. I'm the founder of the Marriage Foundation. God bless you and take care.